In ancient Egypt, power did not come from armies alone. It came from bloodlines believed to be divine. These rulers were not just kings, they were living gods, worshipped in life, judged in death. Some ruled briefly, yet became immortal. Others ruled for decades and shaped the world itself. Tonight, we are telling the story of 5 pharaohs, whose names outlived empires, and whose legacies still define ancient Egypt. To understand Egypt, you must understand its rulers, because every pyramid, every temple, and every ritual was built to preserve one thing: eternal power. The pharaoh was the bridge between gods and mortals, order and chaos, life and death. And among all who ruled Egypt, 5 names rose above the rest. Tutankhamun ruled Egypt for less than 10 years. He built no great monuments. He won no legendary wars. And yet, he became the most famous pharaoh to ever live, not because of his reign, but because of how perfectly death preserved his story. When Tutankhamun died, Egypt barely noticed, but when his tomb was discovered in 1922, the world stood still. Gold untouched for 3,000 years, symbols frozen in time, a doorway into a forgotten civilization. Tutankhamun did not choose immortality. It chose him. To the ancient Egyptians, this was no accident. Tutankhamun's preserved tomb was proof that the afterlife was real. His untouched burial confirmed their belief that death was not an ending, but a transition through Tutankhamun. Egypt spoke across millennia. Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh of Egypt, and the most misunderstood. She was not merely a seductress, she was a strategist, a linguist, and a ruler, fighting to preserve Egypt's independence against the most powerful empire on earth, which is Rome. Cleopatra aligned herself with Julius Caesar, then Mark Antony, not out of romance, but necessity. Every alliance was calculated, every decision was survival. She ruled Egypt during its final breath, fighting not for conquest, but for preservation. When Cleopatra died, Egypt fell. Rome absorbed the last great ancient kingdom with her death. The age of pharaohs ended forever, but Cleopatra ensured one final victory. Egypt would never be forgotten. Ramses II ruled Egypt for over 60 years, long enough to become legend while still alive. He built more temples than any other pharaoh, commanded vast armies, and carved his name into history itself. This was not vanity, it was strategy. Ramses understood one eternal truth: power fades, but memory endures. So he built monuments so massive that Egypt itself became his signature. Even today, his statues still watch the horizon, guarding a legacy carved in stone. Khufu ruled during Egypt's Old Kingdom, a time when pharaohs wielded absolute authority. He is remembered for one achievement above all others: the Great Pyramid of Giza, not the first pyramid, but the largest ever built, a monument so precise and massive that its construction still challenges modern understanding. The Great Pyramid was not built by slaves, but by skilled Egyptian workers. Entire villages existed solely to support its construction. Food, tools, medicine, all organized by the state. This was not oppression alone, it was belief. Khufu was not just a ruler, he was the axis of the universe itself. For Khufu, the pyramid was not a tomb. It was a machine for resurrection, aligned with the stars, engineered for eternity. In death, Khufu expected to ascend to the heavens and join the gods themselves. His pyramid was not meant to be entered. It was meant to endure. Hatshepsut was never meant to rule. She began as regent for a young heir, but soon claimed the throne herself, to rule as pharaoh. She adopted male titles, clothing, and imagery, not to deceive, but to survive within a rigid tradition. Hatshepsut's reign was peaceful and prosperous. Trade flourished, temples rose. Her expedition to Punt brought wealth and stability, strengthening Egypt without war. Yet after her death, her name was erased from monuments, as if history itself rejected her success. This was not because Hatshepsut failed. It was because she ruled too well. Her legacy challenged the order of succession, so history was rewritten. But stone remembers, and centuries later, her reign was uncovered, proving power does not vanish, even when silenced. These 5 rulers shaped Egypt in different ways: a child king, a last queen, a conqueror, a builder, a forbidden ruler, but all shared one belief, that death was not the end. And that belief led to something darker, because in death, even pharaohs faced judgment. Their hearts were weighed, their deeds measured, their souls tested, and if they failed, their existence ended forever. The story of what awaited them next was far more terrifying than anything they ruled in life. Thanks for watching and listening. Until the next ancient story, please subscribe and like for more.